Hi, we have discussed, analyzed a lot about the probability theory. Probability has a very significant relationship with business decisions. Not every decision that is being made by a company, by its CEO, by its board of directors, are actually going to be true, going to be correct. Some of the decisions are sometimes taken under duress. You have to take a decision very fast. You have to take a decision at least. The decision making ability of a manager makes him different from others. Not everybody can have the knowledge, not everybody can have the intensity, not everybody will have the courage to take decisions that is going to affect his own future and the future of that organization for which he is taking the decision. Once a decision is taken, how it is going to affect, because it is irreversible. It's like an arrow which has been shot from by an archer. It will never come back. We have heard the myth of boomerangs, that when the archer wants, it will come back to his bow. But in actual life, decisions are taken, funds are put into use, capital is put into use, assets are purchased, assets are invested. These are irreversible decisions. Once they've proved to be wrong, they will cause you large amount of damage. So probability plays a true and significant role in calculating the plausibility, the exhaustibility, the correctability, on the assumption that if you are taking a decision, what percentage probability you have that you are true, you are correct, and you are going to be successful. In actual life, in fact, some of the decisions you take actually depends upon other events which are located and which happen simultaneously. So without analyzing those effects, we cannot be in a position to tell whether we are true, we are correct or not. So it's a kind of sense and sensibility thing. We're going to discuss Bayes' theorem, which is obviously a conditional probability event. This theorem was actually invented by Reverend Thomas Bayes. It is a particular way of understanding how in probability a theory which is true is affected by a new set of evidence. We know that it is true, but can it be proved? Is it having any probability of not being true? That is Bayes' theorem. It is used into marine philosophy of science, pseudoscience. So Bayes' theorem depends and takes its origin to conditional probabilities. So Bayes' theorem lies at the heart of the computation of conditional probabilities. Conditional probability means the chance of one event occurring, given that another event has occurred. For example, the chance of Indian GDP growing at a greater rate than last year depends upon agricultural output, manufacturing output, industrial output all increasing over the last year. So these are related events. The result of one is dependent completely upon the result of other. In many situations, in some of the situations we examine, one experiment may consist of a number of components, out of which some of the events are independent of the others. They cannot be called into question because they are independent. They may happen, they may not happen. For example, as given in your slide, if you roll one dice, the probability of a 6 coming is independent. The probability is 1 by 6. But if you throw two dice at the same time, then the probability of the second die coming up with a 6 is completely independent of the first die. The first die may have a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, 5, 6, whatever. But the second die giving a 6 is completely independent of the first die. So the probability is 1 by 6. It is independent of the other. But now consider two events A and B. If B occurs first, if A and B are independent, then A occurring and B occurring doesn't have any simultaneous values. A can occur and B at the same time can occur. But if A is contingent upon B, then A cannot occur unless B occurs. So that is an example of dependent events. For example, I will tell you, London 2012, the Olympics is going to happen. There are two events. Abhinav Bindra, who won a gold medal in Beijing Olympics, what is the probability of him winning again in London? Take that as event B. But he is going to have some chances only if he is going to qualify. Take that as event A. Event B, which is what is the probability of Abhinav Bindra winning, is going to happen only if Abhinav Bindra qualifies. If it doesn't qualify, which means event A doesn't happen, then there is no question of him winning the gold. So both are dependent events, conditional probabilities. So we call it probability of A slash B, A by B. Conditional probability of A given that B has already occurred. A will not happen if B has not happened. The conditional probability of A given B or A by B is calculated as probability of A intersection B divided by probability of B. This can be rewritten as probability of A intersection B is equal to probability of A by B into probability of B. Cross multiplication of the first formula. We can also write that in another manner, that is probability of A intersection B is probability of B by A into probability of A. You can either calculate in the second formula or by the third formula, usage of third formula. The Bayes theorem takes up from here. Here we are talking about two events, one dependent upon the other. But what about we are having four events, each one dependent upon the other? In a case of normal conditional probability, we use these formulas, event A and event B. We are not called upon to calculate and use Bayes theorem because there are only 2 events. But if more than 2 events are there, then we are called upon to calculate the revised or the posterior probability by using Bayes' theorem. The Bayes' theorem takes the following form. Probability of A by B, it can be calculated as probability of A intersection B by probability of probability of B. But if there are 3 events, suppose say, then it will be calculated as probability of B by A into probability of A divided by probability of A1 into probability of B by A1, B by A2, B by A3. There are 3 events. So the conditional probability of 1 will be on the upper side, and all the conditional probability B will be in the denominator added together. I can write it as probability of A by B is equal to probability of A intersection B divided by summation of A intersection B. The one probability which you require will come as the numerator, and all the probabilities will be added together to find the denominator. We take one example. There are 3 events. Like it says that a manufacturing firm purchases a certain component for its manufacturing process from 3 subcontractors A, B and C. There are 3 events, not 2. A supplies 60%, B supplies 30% and C supplies 10% of the requirements. 2% of what A supplies is defective. 5% of what B supplies is defective. And 8% of what C supplies is defective. On a particular day, if shipments arrive and by chance they get mixed, you randomly pick one component, what is the probability that it is defective? Then what is the probability that if a random component is found to be defective, it is supplied by A, B or C? You can calculate 3 different probabilities for all of the 3 different suppliers. Now let A be the event that the component is supplied by supplier A, contractor A, B by B and C by C. Also let D be the event that the product chosen at random is defective. Probability of A is given to be 0.6, probability of B is given to be 0.3 and probability of C is given to be 0.1. Probability of D by A defective, given that the component is manufactured by A, is 0.02. Probability of D by B, probability of defective given that it is derived by supplier B, is 0.05, and probability of D defective if it is supplied by C is given to be 8%, 0.08. We have to calculate PD. Probability that the randomly selected component is defective is multiplication of PA into D by A plus PB into D by B plus PC into D by C. By multiplying all the 3, we get 0.6 into 0.02 plus 0.3 into 0.05 plus 0.1 into 0.08, which gives us 0.035. So almost 3.5% of the components produced by gathered by the manufacturer is actually going to be defective. So we have found that 3.5% of the products is going to be defective. Now we have to find that if a random product is selected and it is found to be defective, what is the probability that it is being produced and supplied by A? That is probability of A by D, which is probability of A into probability of D by A divided by probability of D. We have already calculated probability of D, which is given to be 0.035, and probability of A is 0.6 into 0.02, so that's 0.012 divided by 0.035, which is 0.343, which means almost 34% of the possibility that it is supplied by A. B supplied by B is probability of B by D, which is probability of B into D by B divided by PD, 0.3 into 0.05 divided by 0.035, that is 42.9%. And similarly, we can calculate that the defective part is being supplied by C is coming to be 0.228. All of these three probabilities taken together should be equal to exactly 1, which is the case here. 0.429 plus 0.343 plus 0.228 gives us the exact value of 1. Because the product is found to be defective, it will have a maximum probability of 1. Produced by A is 34, produced by B is 43, produced by C is 22.8. We take another example, that there is a manufacturing firm which produces with the help of 3 machineries each. Machine A produces 50%, half of the product. Machine B produces 30% and machine C produces 20% of the firm's production. It is known that 2%, 5% and 6% of the items produced by these machines are found to be defective. Out of what A produces, 2% is defective. Out of what B produces, 5% is defective, and out of what C produces, 6% is defective. On a particular day, a component, if chosen at random, is found to be defective. What is the probability that it is produced by machine A, B or C? Similar kind of question. Let A be the event that the product is produced by A, B be the event that the product is produced by B, and C be the event that the product is produced by C. Let D be the event that the product is defective. Probability of A is given to be 0.5, 50%, probability of B is given to be 30%, and probability of C is given to be 20%, the remaining. Probability of D by A is given to be 2%, probability of D by B is 5%, and probability of D by C is 6%, which means defectives arising out of A is 2%, defectives arising out of B is 5%, and defectives arising out of C is 6%. So what is the probability of the product being a defective? Probability of A into D by A plus probability of B into D by B plus probability of C into D by C. So find the probability of the defective to be 0.5 into 0.02 plus 0.3 into 0.05 plus 0.2 into 0.06, which gives us the probability of being a defective product if chosen at random is 0.037, 3.7% chance that if a product is chosen at random, it will be a defective one. What is the chance that is produced by product machinery A? Probability of A by D. It is probability of A into D by A divided by probability of D, which is 0.5 into 0.02 divided by 0.037, which is 27%. Exactly 20% chances that the product chosen at random is a defective one. The second probability that the product which is chosen at random and is actually coming to be a defective one, and from product machinery B, is probability of B by D, which is calculated as probability of B into probability of D by B divided by probability of D, which is 0.3 into 0.05 divided by 0.037, which is coming to be 0.405, 40.5% probability that a product which is chosen at random and is found to be defective is actually coming from machine B. Similarly, we can calculate the probability of the product chosen at random to be from machine C and is also defective. Is probability of C by D, which is probability of C into probability of D by C divided by probability of D, which is 0.02, sorry, 0.2, 20% into 0.06 divided by 0.037, which is 0.324, 32.4%, that a product chosen at random and is found to be defective is actually produced by machine C. So you can calculate in the same manner when there are more possibilities. Now we have come to another question, question number 3. At a certain university, 4% men are over 6 feet tall, which means 4% of the total number of men there is greater than 72 inches. When 1% of women are only of that height or more. The total student population is divided into 3:2, which means that 3 by 5 is men and 2 by 5 is women. If a student is selected at random from among the people who are 6 feet or more, what is the probability that a student is a woman? This is involving only two dependent activities. Let M be the student being male, F be student being female, M and F. T is 6 feet or more tall. We know that probability of male is 2 by 5 and female is 3 by 5. Probability of T by M is 4 by 100 and probability of T by F is 1 by 100. 4% of the male population more than 6 feet and 1% of the female population more than 6 feet. We require a tall fellow being a female person, F by T. F by T. So probability of F by T is probability of T by F into probability of F. Probability of T by F is 1 by 100. Probability of F is 3 by 5. So 1 by 100 into 3 by 5 divided by 1 by 100 into 3 by 5 plus probability of T by M into probability of M. T by M is co-percent. So that is 4 by 100 multiplied by 2 by 5. That is the percentage. That is the ratio of male population. By simplifying, we get 3 by 11. So if you choose a tall fellow among all the tall fellows, the probability that the tall fellow is a female is 3 by 11. If you find that it is a M by T, it would be 1 probability of M by T, not F by T. It would be 4 by 100 into 4 by 2 by 5 divided by again the same thing, it would be 8 by 11. You can cross check the answer. It is 8 by 11. I have also incorporated one of the unsolved questions, that a factory's production line is manufacturing with the help of 3 machines A, B and C. A is producing 25%, B is 35%, C is rest. Both A and B taken together is producing 25 plus 35, that is 60%. So the remaining means 1 minus 60%, that is 40%. 40% is balance, so C is producing 40%. 5% of machine A is defective, 4% of machine B is defective and 2% from machine C is defective. The question is saying that if a bolt is chosen at random, what is the probability that it came from machine A, machine B and machine C? You can calculate the answers in the same manner as we have already discussed. The answer is here. You can cross check the answers. Answers are given for your benefit. So we have come to the conclusion of Bayes' theorem, which is basically an extension of conditional probability. Bayes' theorem is sometimes called by people like inverse probability law, because we take the assumption that the events are dependent upon each other and there are normally more than 2 events. We can apply Bayes' theorem to 2 events. We can apply a simple conditional probability event to 2 events, but still Bayes' theorem is more scientific, more positional, and it is more true. It is used by businessmen while going on to assume like sales and income, turnover and profit things. So Bayes' theorem is sometimes it's a kind of a gadget that managers can use in random probability events. Suppose a product has 3 divisions. Out of the total turnover, division A produces 50%, division B produces 25%, division C produces 25%. If the gross profit level of 3 departments are 12%, 14% and 14%, then what is the probability, what is the chances of whom getting more profits for the company? We can use Bayes' theorem, we can use the probability. So Bayes' theorem will be helpful for you in the examination and in actual life also. So now by concluding Bayes' theorem, we have almost come to the conclusion of probability theory. Apart from the probability distributions, which we will go on into and discuss normal distribution, binomial and Poisson distribution also. But overall, we have concluded probability theory, and I hope you're going to practice the assignments and come back to me if you have a problem. Until then, thank you very much. Hope to meet you very soon.